Hello everyone and welcome to this week's reviews. The popular horror book series of the 1980s and 90s has now been adapted to the big screen, courtesy of director Andre Øvredal and producer Guillermo del Toro. What happens when a group of teenagers unleash an evil storyteller on Halloween night? We find out in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I should probably mention that while I'm aware of the existence of the books, and I have certainly seen their cover art, I have not actually read them. So I don't know how this movie fares as an adaptation. On its own, I was pretty entertained and appropriately creeped out by the imagery. While set in 1968, Scary Stories really takes a lot of influence from 80s horror movies, with its group of young people who have to deal with this mysterious evil force. I actually did like the main characters, led by Zoe Margaret Coletti as Stella. She actually has to carry a lot of the film and get some of the heavier scenes and does a really good job. I also appreciated her relationship with her single father, as it avoided some of the common horror film depictions of parents. Dean Norris gave a really sweet performance here, and you got a sense of how much they care for each other. There's plenty of creativity in the monster and makeup effects, with some truly inventive designs. The movie also succeeds at understanding the core audience of the books while not flinching at showing certain imagery. There were quite a few disturbing scenes here that did seem to push the rating. In regards to the time period, the film seemed to shift between being in your face about it and then the setting not really mattering. I feel they could have set it in the 70s or 80s or 90s and the plot would not have been affected that much. Even the protagonists sounded more like modern teenagers than ones from the 60s. I felt the movie also ran a little too long, but those are fairly minor complaints. While Scary Stories does play within the traditional horror film playbook for the most part, it is a perfectly serviceable entry in the genre with enough that works to warrant a viewing. Next up, it's somehow the third major Dog's Inner Thoughts flick of the year, with The Art of Racing in the Rain. When the movie began, it seemed like it would center around the dog and his race car driving owner. And yep, that's what a lot of the first act was about, and I was into that as we get a sense of the excitement of the motorsport through the eyes of this dog, named Enzo and voiced by Kevin Costner. You get a good sense of the relationship with his owner Denny and how he grows a fondness for the sport and Formula One in particular. They even include footage from real races and champions like Ayrton Senna, which I thought was a nice touch. But then the movie takes a detour and stops being about racing and instead becomes about the racer's family life, which, fair enough, but this portion never rises above being a typical sentimental family drama, as we see Denny coping with his wife's illness and trying to raise his daughter. And there's an odd section where the dog is abandoned in the house, which is strangely hand-waved away once that plot point is resolved. The weakest part is when the father-in-law is introduced, who is portrayed as such a one-dimensional, mustache-twirling villain, and I started wondering to myself, wasn't this movie about race car driving? It's a film that wants to be about that, but also about this dog's life, and also a weepy drama, and these three movies have trouble melding into this single film. I will say Costner's voiceover is nicely done. For those who found the constant jokes from Josh Gad's pooch in The Dog's Purpose and its sequel grating, I think you might better appreciate Enzo's narration here. Otherwise, I felt a lot of this film was a missed opportunity. Thank you for watching this week's reviews, and I'll see you next time.